We could use a man like Paul Volcker to deal with inflation. Last time inflation was this high, Paul Volcker saved us all. Paul Volcker. I just want to share with you this again. I'm going to share with you why I focus so much on this. Stagflation, energy crisis, and malaise. And this guy, Ed Driscoll, says, Mister, we could use a man like Paul Volcker again. And producer prices in Germany are the highest since 1949. Annual producer price inflation topped 30% in March. That's the highest level since the agency began collecting data 73 years ago. The biggest culprit? Energy prices, as we said 1,000 times a Sunday here. Mainly responsible for the high rise of energy prices were the strong price increases in natural gas, which was up 145% on March 2021. It is one of the first signs of the huge impact of Russia's invasions. Oh, they're going to blame Russia. But who's relying on Russia for their natural gas? Oh, my goodness, Germany. Why? Because they wanted to go green. They shut down their nuclear plants. They're not doing coal. It's because of energy where the inflation comes. Consumers should brace themselves. Factory gate inflation feeds into retail prices, and shoppers can expect to spend more on everything from furniture to meat, according to Wednesday's figures. Germany's consumer price inflation is already at a 41-year high. Energy prices were the main contributor, up almost 40% from the last month. Global energy prices were rising before Putin ordered the invasion. As economies began to open, demand for fuel surged and wholesale prices shot up as the economy began to open, or maybe because these European countries and half of the United States are being idiots and getting rid of their pipelines, getting rid of their nuclear, getting rid of their coal, getting rid of drilling, getting rid of oil. The whole thing's freaking insane. But Western sanctions and efforts by European Union to slash consumption of its natural gas or to reduce its consumption of fossil fuels. All right, so let's talk about why Paul Volcker won't do crap here and why he didn't do crap before. So we're going to look into, here's a inflation data right here. So we got the last time inflation was this high, Carter and Reagan. All right, great, gotcha. And we're going to go to here. The last time prices were increasing this quickly was in 1980. Can I get rid of this stupid video? Maybe not. We're in 1981, where Reagan was president. Interest rates were at record highs. So interest rates being at record highs would cause inflation to go down. That's what the thesis is. Let's see, right here. The inflation more than 4 decades ago was much more severe than it is now. It peaked in 1980, a dropping 14.8%, and subsequently began to decline. Whoa. Peaked in 1980 and subsequently declined. So here's May, right there, 14.6 in May and June. And by the time July 83 rolled around, it's 2.4. 14.6 to 2.4. So when did the Fed start raising? You want to take a gander? Oh, after. So this is November of 1981. The Fed was at 20. The Fed funds rate was at 20. November 1981. But if we go back to inflation, right there, May of 1980. So the Fed funds rate didn't hit 20 until January of 1981. And we can already see a significant decline of inflation from 14.6, I think it was like 11 or something like that, 1980. Go down right there to January 11.8. That's a 30% decline in inflation before the Fed funds rate even started taking hold of 20%. And that's in 1980. Where's the Fed fund rate back here? Oh, August of 1980, the Fed funds rate was at 9.61. It was already dropping, even though the Fed funds rate was dropping too. Inflation was dropping, even though the Fed funds rate was dropping. So we got right there, July of 1980, the record high inflation had already peaked and was subsiding. Then the Fed funds rate went up. It's almost like the vaccine thing I showed you with MMR. Oh, here's when vaccine was introduced. You can see the cases went. But if you look at it from a bigger picture, you realize it was already being reduced significantly before the vaccine was. Oh, by the way, I just want to show you this Fed funds rate right here. I took some notes. All right, here's inflation. Fed funds rate in May of 1971, 3.5. All right. So let's take a look at inflation. That's May of 1971, 3.5 is the Fed funds rate. Inflation, May of 1971, was right 4.4. So the Fed funds rate is at 3.5. Inflation is 4.4. Inflation is dropping. Went from 4.4 to 3%, a 25% decrease in inflation. And yet what happened to the Fed funds rate? The Fed funds rate was going up. So the Fed funds rate did not decrease inflation, did it now? In fact, the Fed funds rate by June of 1974 is at 13. Where was inflation by June of 1974? Right? June of 1974 was right. That's July, right there. June of 1974 is at 10.9 from 3% of June of 1972. So the Fed funds rate increasing did not stop inflation, did it? Even though it was at 3.5 right there. February of 71 is at 3.5. And that was at 13. That's a quadrupling of the Fed funds rate to June of 74. And yet inflation went from, we go back here, 71, right there. From 4.4, you can see that's the inflation, 71, to 74, right there. Inflation was rising as the Fed funds rate was quadrupling. How could that possibly be? October 74, inflation went down from basically 12, it was 12.2, all the way down to 5.2 in January 77. Let's look at the Fed funds rate. So we got 74, inflation goes down from 13. This is the Fed fund rate. It goes down from 13 all the way down to 4.75. So the Fed funds rate was going up and inflation was going up. The Fed funds rate is going down and inflation is going down. Correlation equals causation? I'm not saying. I'm just saying has nothing to do with itself. It doesn't. All right, so let's go to 1977. Fed funds rate is now at 4.65, 4 and 5/8, 1977, March of 1977. Let's go to inflation. March of 19, right there. Fed's funds rate is at, the inflation is 6.4. It's already rising from 5.2 to 6.4 to 6.7, all the way up. Look at that. It's going up all the way to 14.2 at the same point. The Fed funds rate is what? It's going up. It's going up. It's going up. It's not beating inflation until April of 1980. The Fed funds rate is at 17%. But that 17.6. But that's not enough to stop inflation. Because watch, the Fed funds rate was whole time. Right there. April 14.6 is inflation. April of 1980. Fed funds rate is at 17.61, but it didn't stop inflation. If there's anything, the more they raise the Fed funds rate, the more inflation kicks in. Isn't that interesting? If there's any correlation, Fed funds rate's going up, inflation's going up. Look, Fed funds rate going up, inflation going up. What? That's impossible. And then inflation's at 14.2 in February 1980. Volcker didn't raise till 20% until April, I think it was in 1981. May of 1981. And inflation had already fallen off a cliff. It went from right here, 20% Fed funds rate in 1981. That's when Volcker's doing it. Then they lowered it to 14.7. Then they brought it right back up again to 20%. And what did inflation do that whole time? Oh, it was dropping. Before Volcker did anything, it was dropping like a brick in water. Volcker did not raise until January of 1981 to 20% the Fed funds rate. On top, it's already at 17%, man. Fed funds rate is already over here, 17%. We had, a freaking 6-month time period where it would drop like a brick. And then it was right back up, man. So if Volcker is raising, the inflation's already going down. Inflation's already dropping from a 20. When the Fed funds rate is at 20 in 1 January 1981, it went back to 20 in May of 1981. And look what inflation was doing. It was already dropping from May 1980, right here, keep going, to January of 1981, the inflation went down 30%. And then to May of 1981, it kept going down, even though they had raised the Fed funds rate again to 20. And then we got to May of 1981, right there, inflation, last June, 9.7. It went from 14 to 9.7, even though we had a significant drop of the Fed funds rate. It's crazy, man. Crazy. On top of that, we went from 1982 is 13 point. Let's see right here. Remember, Volcker was appointed by Carter, not Reagan. So Fed funds rate is at 12.37 in December 1982 and went up to 14. Wait, what is it here? December 1981, 12.37. It went up to 14.78 just 3 months later. There's nothing. Look, December 1982 is on a free fall. Stop. Stop it. Fed funds rate won't kill inflation. It's going to kill your freaking economy. Well, it shouldn't really kill it that much because that people aren't borrowing as much. The recession, the balance sheet recession. But still, at the end of the day, it's like, just get over this, like Paul Volcker, I love you. It's freaking, and Ronald Reagan, I love you. It's embarrassing. All right, we'll see you guys.